Good afternoon. I see very low energy in this room. You guys are graduating today. Come on. 3 cheers for Asian Education Group. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Very good. So Asian Business School, Miss Dr. Sandeep Marva, President Asian Education Group, Dr. Lalit V. Srivastava, Director Asian Education Group, Director Asian Education Group, Mr. Gurdeep Singh Raina, and Mr. Ravi Sharma, Dean Corporate Resource Cell. And of course, another guest of honor, my counterpart today, Mr. Vipul Sabharwal, Managing Director, Luminous Power Technologies, and all the faculty members, or every mentor, every senior, junior, students passing out today. I'm absolutely delighted and honored to be a part of this gathering. And I only picked up everything that everyone else mentioned here. So right from Mr. Srivastava's speech of childhood epigenetics, he tried to tell you how important it was in your childhood to be inquisitive and to put your finger in that socket and get an electric shock. How many of you got it? Many, right? And of course, going from there to what your own president said about dreaming, about attitude, about compassion, and being a nationalist, right? So what can I tell you? I can tell you about how do you develop these things, and I can give you some techniques that perhaps when you go back today, you can internalize some of them and really make sure that whatever your seniors taught you, you're able to become that leader today from years from now. So to start with, what is a country? We just spoke about Jai Hind, Bharat Mata Ki Jai. What is it being a nationalist? What is it? A country is not in isolation, just infrastructure, or just my roads and transport and highway and just some startup India initiatives and all of that. What is it? It's every country's basis. Any developed country, the basis of globalization has been education. Education is priceless, my dear students. And today you are at the threshold when you have these degrees which you want to get out in that corporate market, in that entrepreneurial ecosystem of your country, and you want to encash them, right? Now, how do you do that? You have to really think today that 1900s, we developed the best freedom fighters in this country. Did we or did we not? It was about freedom fighters, right? And 47s, it was about surviving. We just survived, and we really took this poor country and we made it today what we are. And those were our visionary thought leaders. And you guys you took birth in 20s, right? 20,000s, whatever. I don't know how old are you. All of us must be around 20. So you have taken birth in a very, very interesting point in this history of this country, because it's about technology. It's about blockchain. It's about NFT. It's about cryptocurrency. And somehow our education system is yet not there in India as to what the future jobs are going to be. It's about consciousness. It's about the next stage of evolution, not only in the world, but also in humanity. So how are you prepared? Are you really prepared? Is this a question? You want to ask yourself a question. Who am I? Who am I? What do I want? It's very important to know. Where am I? I'm standing in this Ambedkar Center today. I'm sitting. Where do I want to be? And these two questions, who am I, where am I, and where I want to be, it's a huge gap. And that gap you can fill if you have 3 important things that I'm going to tell you about from the speeches of your honorable, management. So it was about dreaming, right? How many of you are dreamers in this room? Come on, give me a shout out. All of you are dreamers, right? How do you dream? So dreaming is important, right? Got it? And after dreaming, what is important is that you're resilient. This is a competency that is required now in the future. And besides being a dreamer and a resilient, you have to be a genius. So these three things, if you go out in the corporate market, when you were a child, you were in a very limited atmosphere. You were talking to your neighbors, you were talking to your cousins, you were talking to your family, and you were always dreaming big, right? You were enacting like a leader. You had a role model. I want to be the president of India. This is how that leader. All of you must be doing mimicry at home on your dining tables. I'm sure you had those days with your cousins when you've gone on a play date and you like pretend play to be the next prime minister of this country and all of that, right? But when we grow up, the world becomes a very large platform. And then comes the criticism, and then there is competition, and then there is lack of resource, and so many other things. So our dreams start really shrinking. As the conversations develop, as we start getting more exposed to the world and we are talking to more people, like you come to the campus and you have 600, 700 people here, this is just very limited again. When you go out, it's an open market. It's an open market. So how will you dream, right? One is that you go back to your childhood and dream exactly, pretend play of what you were doing when you were a child. And when you pretend play, you will think something, right? When you're dreaming, you're thinking something. And now, what you are thinking, you need to know what you're thinking. It's called knowing. And how do you know what you're thinking? What is knowing means what is required to do that, what I'm doing right now, in pretend play, in this dream stage. How does it become reality? It only becomes reality if I have the knowledge. How do you become a knowledge? So today, I'll give you an example. Now, all you have to do is, you're in the stage of internet, right? So just go Google how Singapore was created. Who created Singapore? Who put the flag there? How is it a leading economy today? It's all available. And if you have an excuse that I don't have time, I'm a corporate now, I have a 12-hour job, how do I do that? Then have a mentor. Because this is a very, very critical time for you. So if you do not have time to read 5 hours a day or to go through, those online master classes or those 30-second clips, then have a mentor, because a mentor has already that experience, has already done what you are looking at doing in your life. And he can tell you the same thing, the Singapore story, in 15 minutes. Perhaps that will take you, otherwise, days of reading. Okay? So number one, dreaming, having a mentor is very important. Number two, how do you become resilient? It's about knowing your strengths and weaknesses. It's about knowing your skill set. It's about knowing your competencies. Please put that down on a piece of paper. Please put that down on a piece of paper and see, where am I today? What are my skill sets? What am I good at? What is my competency? Competency is your attitude, like what Mr. Marva just mentioned. What is it? What is my strength? What is my weakness? Do I really know it? And does it fit into my current profile? And does it fit into where I want to be 5 years from now? Because you're enacting like a leader, so you have to develop. Remember, if I say that I have become very compassionate just because thinking and saying I become compassionate, compassion does not come. It's just an example. So how will it come? It will come when 5 years you will continuously practice compassion, and there will be a good day and a bad day and worst day. Every day is not same when you go out. So that's the time when you practice. 5 years from now, this is what I need. This is where I want to be. And that's what you will practice day in and day out. And you might fail, but you have to be like that rubber ball. What is it called? The harder I fall, the higher, come on, it's not my convocation, yours. Show me some energy. So the harder I fall, the higher I rise. That's called resilience. This is called resilience. So dreaming and resilience. And number 3 was genius. How do you become genius? How do you become genius? When these two things are really working in sync, you actually are a genius because you have the knowledge. You're dreaming. You have the knowledge. You're not only a dreamer who's dreaming on a sofa and just doing nothing about it. You are doing things about it. You're thinking, you're knowing, you have case studies, your biographies, you're on the resources, there are educations online, so many of them available. Whichever competency, whatever you want today, guys, you are in this interesting era. It's just there on Google. Just do it. Just do it. And after that, whatever map you create for yourself for 5 years, I'm not even saying create 10 years map, and practice that day in and day out. When you do that, you are going to be a genius. Trust me, in every moment you will be a genius, and that genius will transform into a very, very good leader. And that's a part of evolution. And I leave you guys today with an example of ostrich. How many of you know ostrich? Yeah? An ostrich, it feeds on the ground because it's very comfortable. But they have wings. And you know that in the age of dinosaurs, they used to fly because the dinosaurs were always after them. But so remember one thing, always be that ostrich and always remember there is a dinosaur. That is your own lazy self, which is going to stop you from doing everything that all of us are telling today. Because if you don't practice any of this, you are going to be just dreaming on a sofa. And that's not going to take you anywhere. So all the best, and use every technique that I've given you for your own betterment. Try to evolve as a human being. Try to develop yourself, not only commercially. This education is commercial. You also have other education, which is about your character, which is about your spirit. Please try to develop them. Become a holistic person, because only a holistic person takes brilliant decisions, and those decisions are not only going to impact you and your life and your career and your families, but also impact our country. And today, in 2022 and 50 years from now, we need innovators in this country who can take us to another level. So level up your thinking, guys, and hip hip hooray again. All the best. Thank you.